Hi, Roseborough Explorers. My name is Amanda Vallone, and I'm one of the owners of Roseborough Travel Agency. I'm so excited that you're logging into this video today and learning a little bit more about our adventure to France on AmaWaterways. So we have a guest speaker and a past business development manager that we have worked with for many years. And I'm so excited to have him with us today. It's Sebastien from AmaWaterways. Hi, Sebastien. How are you?
Hi, Amanda. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be back talking travel with Roseborough.
We're so excited to have you. I know that this is not really what you do anymore in terms of talking to our guests and clients this way through your travel agency partners. Tell us a little bit about the role that you have taken on with Ama. Will you tell us about what you're doing now?
So I'm the product manager for France and Iberia. So I oversee, let's say, the part of the operation in France that involves the planification of the future itineraries. And I think what we will talk about today is actually great because this is a new adventure, a new itinerary. We spent a lot of time developing this, and there are new in the works, of course. But it's really that. It's making sure that the entire guest experience is up to our standard, and that's valid on the ship, but also off the ship. So we're developing also the land programs, and that involves the choice of the guides, the choice of the accommodation, which type of bus will we use? Do we need a bus? Will we privilege walking? Where is it better to have a hike? Is it better to have a bike tour? Do we want to have wine excursions? But it encompasses quite a lot of things. But having been a cruise manager before, being in Florida and getting to know you guys in person, I think it's full circle, right? I come back to pretty much where I started, and I think it's very interesting to be able to develop new things now and to see how the company and how our programs develop.
I so agree. Well, that is really wonderful. I'm so excited to hear about your new position, your new role, and that you are there developing these amazing itineraries for us to be able to take in the future, as well as this one that we are taking in 2026. I know that you said that it is a newer itinerary. I think you just started doing this year, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. We've identified, and that's in conversations with our travel partners, with you in Florida, but all our travel partners ask us, can you do something, because we see this trend. Our guests are coming, they don't want to do a week, they don't want to do 10 days, they want to do 2 weeks on the ship. They want to combine different destinations. And we said, okay, let's see what we can do to combine them. And I think the big advantage of France is that from the 5 ships we have in France, between the Seine River, the Saône, the Rhône rivers, and the Bordeaux area, 4 of them actually have an embarkation and disembarkation on the same day, which allows us, or which allows our guests, to really jump from one ship to the other. It is very convenient when you're in France, because even if you have 300 or 400 or 500 miles between 2 ships, using a bullet train, you can be pretty much everywhere in France in 2.5, 3 hours. So we said, okay, let's do this. And we have created, of course, the Grand Seine Bordeaux. We also created the Grand Seine and the Rhône Saône rivers. And there are new, we'll not talk about these today, but there are new exciting developments for 2027 and 2028 even.
Well, we will be very excited to learn more about those new developments later on. But for now, let's talk a little bit about the itineraries, the Grand Seine and Bordeaux. So we're going to fly into Paris first, and that's really where the hub of our trip begins. Tell us a little bit about our experience with AmaWaterways and how you do it different, or what makes it special with Ama starting in Paris.
Sure. So what happens when you travel with AmaWaterways, we are in constant communication with you, our travel partners, and that's very important in the guest experience, because we will have all the information relative to the arrival time at the airport, and logically the arrival time at the hotel. So as soon as you will arrive at the hotel, your cruise manager will be there, because when you travel with AmaWaterways, you don't meet the cruise manager on the ship. You will have a cruise manager who welcomes you at the hotel for the 2 nights pre-extension. You will have a welcome reception where your cruise, so you will meet your fellow travelers on site, but also you will have the program that will be presented by the cruise manager. What is very nice, when we do the Paris pre-extension, we will be at a hotel that is named the Maison Astor. So the Maison Astor was actually the private mansion of John Jacob Astor. John Jacob Astor, you might have heard of him. He was a billionaire in his days. He died on the Titanic. The good thing is that we don't have to go out on the ocean. We stay on a river, so that will be fine. But the Maison Astor Hotel is very well located, very close to La Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré. La Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré is very, very famous because of all the haute couture brands that will be there. It's very close as well to the Élysée Palace, so the presidential palace. And you're really, I would say, 10 minutes walk from the opera and 10 minutes walk from the Champs-Élysées. It is a very nice area. What I really like about the Maison Astor is that while being in the middle of the action, it is quiet. It's not on a huge avenue. It's a very quiet street. It's very nice for our guests. The next day, we will have a discovery of Paris, but not the typical city tour. What we do is that we will show you l'Atelier des Lumières. So l'Atelier des Lumières is a workshop. You could call it a workshop of light, and it's a student association that started these projects. You have 3 of them now in France. You have l'Atelier des Lumières in Paris. You have the Carrières de Lumière, so the quarries of light in Les Baux-de-Provence, and you also have les Bassins de Lumière in Bordeaux. So we'll come back to les Bassins de Lumière later. But so we will have a discovery of this workshop of light. And what are they? These are artists' paintings, projections that are put together with music, and you are walking into it. So it's all around you, it's surrounding you. It's a really great experience. And then after that, you will have a discovery of this entire area that is the 12th district of Paris. There is also some free time that is included. And for your second day, you will discover Montmartre. So Montmartre is the place in Paris that's actually the mount. They call it a mountain. It's more a hill than anything else. But it's a beautiful area because that's where you have the Sacré-Cœur Basilica at the top. So you have stunning views of Paris. You have, of course, a visit of the Sacré-Cœur. And then you discover this little area of Paris where Toulouse-Lautrec, so the painter, and many others at the end of the 19th century, they were all staying at a little square, La Place du Tertre, and I'm sure I will throw quite a few names there. You don't have to remember them all. You will discover them in person when you will be there. But they were all painting these dancers that made the Moulin Rouge famous. And from there, you will make your way to the ship. And there you will have the welcome on the ship. The captain will be there. The entire crew will be there. Your cruise manager, of course, will still be with you. And we will get cozy. We will get settled before having a formal welcome cocktail on board the ship.
I love that. I love the way Ama does their cruises and their land tours. I love that you have the cruise manager with us on land pre and post. It's just really a great touch added to it, and it makes for that whole itinerary to be so much more special. But I will tell you, I've been to Paris many times, and I'm so excited that in going to the City of Lights, we're going to have this beautiful artist display made of lights. I think that is one of the coolest experiences that I've never done, and I can't wait to do it. I'm actually really, really, really excited to do that and experience that, and to have our explorers be able to enjoy it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there will be, of course, as I said, there is free time integrated to that. So I'm sure that the explorers, I don't know if have you been back to Paris let's say, since the end of last year, not yet. So it will be a very great
No.
occasion to visit Notre Dame. Now that it's finished, now that everybody can go there. It's the works that have been done there are really, really stunning. The entire area, Notre Dame, but also just on the other side, you have the Saint Chapel, La Sainte Chapelle. Very interesting area. Many things to discover during the free time. And I think that's the great thing. You're pointing out something really good about the cruise manager. It is very important to tap in the knowledge of the cruise manager. Ask them, are there things that I should see? I want to go to this or this place? Is it open at the time? And I know that many people do research before, but when you're on a trip like this, you discover things on the go. You talk with other people, and then there are many places, attractions that you did not even think about. And you're like, okay, that could be interesting. Go to the cruise managers. They're a really great resource really a lot of knowledge when it comes to Paris and Normandy.
I agree with you. One of the things that I've experienced with Ama in the past is that the cruise managers have not only cruised and been through these destinations countless times, many times they're actually from there. So they know the destination like the back of their hands. They know where they're telling you to go, whether or not you want something touristy or off the beaten path. They know whether or not they're sending you to a safe place or somewhere that's what you're looking for, whether it's the art that you're looking for or the scene that you're looking for, the bar that you're looking for, whatever it is, they can really hone it in and help point you in the right direction. You may have done a ton of research before going, but they can point you down a direction that might change your mind as to what you were actually looking for. And I love that.
Absolutely.
So now we're on board and we are having our welcome cocktail and we're going to start on the Seine now. So tell me a little bit about the experience while we are on the Seine, doing the Grand Seine itinerary.
So the first part of this Grand Seine Bordeaux is really the discovery of the Normandy region. So you will be back to Paris, but when you embark the ship, so the group will arrive, if you're on the pre-land extension with us, you will arrive at the ship around 4:30. And of course, there can always be changes. There is traffic. You could be there at 4 o'clock. You could be there at 4:45. You never know that. The welcome reception, so everybody goes to their staterooms. So you meet the reception team. You meet the entire staff pretty much of the ship. And right after this welcome cocktail, we will leave. We will be back in Paris a few days later. So we leave around dinner time. And it's a very nice first dinner, actually, having this dinner cruising, because you're in the front part of the ship, so just above the water level. So you can really see the scenery changing. Of course, you will be with your friends. It's the first day. You will be talking about the 2 first days that you've had in Paris. But it's very nice to pass next to Saint-Denis and see all the areas where the Olympic Games were taking place, where the athletes' village was, where the port of Paris per se is. And you will start going out. You will have quite a few locks that you will go through. And you will be cruising the entire night. It's a very relaxed cruising. That's what I really love about the Seine. You were talking about the fact that many of our cruise managers are from this area. I'm from Normandy myself, and it's always been something that is very relaxing about cruising in this region is the pace of cruising. There is no rush, and that's why it fits with the region. The River Seine is not that long. I mean, the navigable part. We will cover around 400 miles in the 7 nights. But the idea when you cruise at 10 miles an hour roughly is that you really have the time to discover everything. And then we will be cruising into the morning, and around 9 o'clock, 9:30, we will arrive in this little village of Les Andelys. And where the ship is docked, the ship takes pretty much half the length of the village. It's very small. So you're coming out of this city that is Paris, that is absolutely massive. And the next morning, you're in a super tiny place with a massive fortress. It's a ruin, but you can very well see how massive and imposing it was, which is the Chateau Gaillard. And so this was actually the largest fortress built by Richard the Lionheart. Many people used to say that it was the largest fortress he built outside of England. It's actually the largest fortress he built, period. Which made him actually quite unpopular with his British citizens fellows, because he was the King of England, of course, but he was also the Duke of Normandy. He preferred Normandy, and he spent a lot of money in Normandy, a lot of, at the time, tax money in Normandy, and people did not like that very much in Britain. So you will discover Le Petit Andely, so the little village, and then Le Grand Andely, so the big village. Big village is very relative. We are talking about 2,000 inhabitants. But that's this will be the big part of the town. And you will also discover the chateau, the fortress itself. So you have different ways, because hopefully many of your explorers have cruised with us before, but for those of you who have not and who are discovering AmaWaterways for the first time, we always try to offer different walking paces, because we know that not everybody has the same capabilities when it comes to mobility. So that's why we always have the regular tours, we have the gentle tours, and then we have next to it some active tours. So what does it mean really? But if you are on the gentle walking tour, on the gentle tour, you will go from place to place with a bus. If you're doing the regular tour, you will go to two of the places, the two villages, with the bus. And then when you're at the Chateau Gaillard, which is on the top of the cliff, you have a way to walk back to the ship. It's downhill, it's very flat, it's very well paved. And it's I would say 15 minutes walk downhill, very nice. If you're active, you will do everything walking. So that's a nice 2.5, 3 miles. And going up to the Chateau Gaillard, of course, I can talk about it. I've done that many times, but you need to be in front of it to decide whether you want to be active or whether you want to be regular. And that's okay. You can choose on the spot. You look, you talk to your cruise manager, and then you decide. There will be also a bike tour that is offered. So there are really a lot of options that are possible on that first day. And on that first morning, because after that, we are in Normandy. We are on a cruise, so we want to make sure that our guests do not only cruise at night, because cruising at night is night for moving from place to place. But if you're on a cruise, you also want to enjoy the scenery. So that afternoon, we will be cruising the entire afternoon to our next port of call, which we'll reach the next day.
I love that Ama does multiple different options. I always love having the gentle walkers tour or the gentle tour for people who have less capability of walking, maybe a bad knee or something like that, as well as the ultra. I mean, it's not really ultra active, but it goes from one extreme to the next, right? You can go hiking and biking, or you can do a regular pace walking tour or a gentles tour. And it really does help. Like, our group is mixed of a bunch of different activity levels. So it makes it nice that we all can go to the same destination and have multiple different experiences to come back at dinner at night and talk about our varying difference in experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it can also be just, if, of course, we hope everybody comes. That's why I like also these pre-land extensions, because you're in a hotel, you're in one place, but you can beat the jet lag very quickly, and then when you start your cruise, or even already on your second day, you're back in business, if I may say. So you are here, you beat the jet lag, you could rest, and then you enjoy the cruise. But we will have guests who will just arrive on embarkation day, and well, the next morning you might still not be 100%. Just be a gentle for that morning, and then you can change every day. It's not, you don't say, I'm gentle for the week. No, it's just, I'm gentle for that tour, or I'm regular for that tour. Yeah, that's important to note.
I agree. And I love how the cruise director will normally give you the rundown the night before to be able to tell you a little bit more about it. Like you're telling us more about it now. It's really lovely that Ama has that set up, that the cruise director will review everything, whether it's a day or two in advance or whether they do it just one day at a time. I really enjoy that. And it really helps us keep what we're doing on track in terms of, today I'm going to go bike. tomorrow I'm gonna go hike. The next day I'm gonna do a gentles walker because I already wore myself out on the first 2 days.
Yeah,
And then after that regular, I love that.
it is great when you continue. So we have this relaxed cruising, but then the next day we arrive to the next port of call, which is Le Havre. Le Havre is a very interesting town, not only because I was born there, but also because the city was bombed during World War II, and we had approximately 82% of the town that was completely flattened. And it was rebuilt within 6 years after World War II. So you will see that the architecture is very interesting, but from Le Havre, so you're already at the end, and you're at the mouth of the River Seine. And from there, we will have 2 days of very interesting excursions because we will go visit Honfleur. So Honfleur is a very tiny village just on the other side, so actually on the south bank of the Seine River. Village created actually way before Le Havre. Le Havre was created during the 1500s, so 16th century. Honfleur, we are talking about the 10th century. It's a super small fisherman's village, very, very famous because painters like Renoir, like Eugène Boudin, Monet himself also went there because Monet was one of Boudin's students. But so you think that when you arrive in Honfleur, you go back in time. It's pretty much like it was in the 18th, 19th century, 17th century, maybe. And I don't know if any of your explorers are from Canada, but from a historical standpoint, Honfleur, this super tiny place, is very, very important because that's where in 1608, a gentleman named Samuel de Champlain started an expedition that would create Quebec City. And you still have, at the entrance of the harbor, you still have the plaque. And so you get to discover all that. And then the next day, because we are in the Le Havre area, but this also means that we are in the landing beaches of World War II, of the Operation Overlord. We are in that area too. So for that, we need a full day. It's a long day, but we do that on purpose. We do not like, and you know, Amanda, that we do not like it's a vacation. So we don't want people to be toured out. But this one is important. Many of the guests come because this is the highlight. So it's almost a 10-hour tour, but it's really what I've done that tour probably 50 times as a cruise manager, and I always heard the same thing. When I asked my guests, what did you think? We're tired, but it was so worth it. It was beautiful. It was, and that's the thing, is that people, okay, at the end of the day, you come back to the ship, you go take a shower, you have your little cocktail, have dinner, and then you rest, but you had a day that you will not forget because we have it also by sectors, because we know that sometimes we have guests who are interested in what happened, or maybe they have family who were maybe landing in the British sector or the Canadian sector or the US sector. So we have made the tours so that everybody can see what they are interested in. The Normandy Beaches Day, you go to the Colville Cemetery. Of course, there is a private wreath ceremony that is organized for our guests at the cemetery. We go to Omaha Beach. We go to discover the battery of Longue-sur-Mer. So what we call the battery is really one of these huge big Bertha cannons that the Germans had pointed outward. And so you will get to discover Longue-sur-Mer and really see the coast. And I think the great thing with this tour, because there is a little bit of drive to get there, but the beauty is that your guide will give you most of the explanation going there, so that when you're on site, you know already, and you enjoy, you take it all in, right? So that's what we will do from Le Havre. Two really great days, completely different. One being all about arts history, but like long time ago history, and then the next one really being about the more recent aspect. And we also have a tour, of course, for our guests, because some of our guests are not interested in going on the beaches. So we have a Normandy discovery tour as well, which is really where you will have a few tastings of, we don't have wine in Normandy. That's probably the only region in France that doesn't produce wine made of grape, I should precise, because we have wine made of apples. So you have, everybody knows the cider. So we do produce le cidre, so hard cider, but we also produce an apple wine, which is called pommeau. And we mix that. That's pretty much the apple wine mixed with some Calvados. So Calvados is a distillate. So it's an apple distillate. So it's like 80 proof, 90 proof. So it's very nice. And so we have these different tastings, and you discover these little Norman villages with, and you see all these, half timbered houses with thatch roofs everywhere. So there is something to do for everybody.
I love that. I do love that. I feel like I for sure think the majority of my group will be going to the beaches, but it's always nice to know that there's something else, another option for somebody if they just were not interested in it. So that's wonderful. Very excited. I'm sure it's going to be a very moving day for everybody. And I love the fact that you get the build up on the bus along the way so that you can really take in the full experience that you've learned before getting there, before stepping foot out of the bus. So I'm very excited about that. I think it will be spectacular. Wonderful.
It is.
So then going on after that, what do we do? Because the next day has to be something a little more calm, right?
Yes. So it is. We go to Rouen the next day. So basically, we come back to the ship, and I'm not telling you now where the ship will be when you come back, because what happens when you're on the Seine is that you have the tidal influence, and so based on the tides that day, the ship will be either still in Le Havre when you come back, or you might join the ship again in a little village on the Seine named Caudebec. No matter what, you will arrive at the ship around 6:30 p.m. And then as soon as we arrive up, we start cruising towards Rouen. And Rouen is the capital city of Upper Normandy, because the Normandy region is actually fairly big. Many people think of Normandy like the beaches. No, that's much more than that. Actually, when you come 20 miles outside Paris, you already enter the region Normandy. So it takes a fairly large amount of space in northwestern France. And we will go to Rouen. Rouen is a magnificent town. When I say magnificent, I really weigh my words, because that's where the Gothic, or the so-called flamboyant Gothic movement was born. And you will see that when you look at the Cathedral of Rouen, when you will see Lettre Saint-Maclou, which is another, which is probably the best example today in France of flamboyant Gothic. You will walk in this city, which looks completely medieval. And it's very interesting because you still have houses to this day that can be completely dismantled and moved. So, and when you will be there, you'll say that's not possible. But your guides will show you that actually it would be possible to move, and it's not a 2-story house. I'm talking about a 6-7-story house, and that's how they were made in the Middle Ages. So that you could move based on the needs in the city. You could really build and rebuild and deconstruct without destroying. That was the important thing. I think that our ancestors in the medieval times were way ahead of us when it comes to recycling or reuse of anything. But so you will go to Rouen. Rouen is also famous because it's the place where Joan of Arc, so French hero, of course, that's where she was burnt at the stake. You will see the spot where she was burnt. That's really the only little negative or sad point of the day. All the rest is about discovering this beautiful town. You arrive there in the morning, on a Monday morning. It's usually very quiet. And then as the day builds up, you will see the city really getting active and awaken. There is a tour. If somebody doesn't want to go on a city tour, there's a tasting tour. We call it Taste of Normandy, where you will taste the cheeses. You know that we have, and I'm not scared to say this, we have the best cheeses in the world in Normandy. We have also the most fat cheeses in the world because our cows are very famous for the fat that they have in their milk. And that's all. I mean, many people were always wondering why the Normans actually live longer than anybody else in France. And now I will sound a very YouTube-like person. Latest studies, but I could show you where I have that from because it's really from the University of Le Havre, really show that actually this butter and the good fats that are contained in this butter are one of the reasons why people live longer in Normandy. So we are very thankful for our cows and for the green grass that we have in Normandy. So these tastings, you will taste a lot of different cheeses. Again, a little bit of cider. You will taste also chocolates because we have very famous chocolates in Rouen. So that's another choice that the group and our guests can choose. There's also, of course, a bike tour. And in the afternoon, you have either free time, which I recommend because it's nice to go on tours, but it's also time to take time for yourself. And free time in Rouen is beautiful. You just go around the cathedral, you take a little cafe or you drink a little chocolate and look at life around you. You have this massive cathedral in front of you. When I say massive, it was the tallest cathedral in Europe until the Kölner Dome, so the Cathedral of Cologne was built. So it is really absolute, and it looks so thin, and it's a beautiful spot. If not, you can go to the Château de Bonnemare and discover how the nobility in Normandy used to live in the 17th and 18th century. Beautiful spot as well, not far, about 20, 30 minutes drive to get there. It's really up to you. There is no bad choice. I always heard people always asking me that, Sebastien, if I do this, what do I miss? You miss the other one, but logically. But I've always said, if you do a tour, if you go on a tour, go for this tour. Don't think about what you will miss on the other one. Worst thing that can happen is that you will have to come again on another cruise and you do the other one that you did not do. So it's a great day, and it's a great also introduction to the next day, because when we leave from Rouen, we go to Vallone. So Vallone is a little town upstream. So we're coming back close to Paris. So it's a very beautiful town, famous also for the painters because there is an old water mill that is on the other side of the bridge behind which our ship is docked. And I'm sure that your guides or your cruise manager will mention that. But it's very famous for a chateau from this, which was really at its highest use during the 17th century. And I know that I mention every time like 17th century, 18th century. So I'm talking about mansions and castles that are here for 300 or 400 years. But really, everything is very well preserved in our area. So you will have a lot of these beautiful chateaus. And it's the Chateau de Bézy, completely furnished. You will get to visit this chateau and see really how the life in the 17th and 18th century was. It was a royal castle, so it has never been used by the kings when they were kings, but it was used by princes. And you will learn about the history of the Chateau de Bézy. It's a very good reintroduction to Paris as well, because when we finish this day in Vallone, we continue cruising back towards Paris. And when we are in Paris the next day, we have two very different excursions that will be offered in the morning. It's either Malmaison, and Malmaison is the private residence of Napoleon I and Josephine, or you go to Auvers-sur-Oise. And Auvers-sur-Oise is a small village, a small town, but that is world famous because this is where Vincent van Gogh is buried with his brother Theo. And that's also the place, this very place is where Van Gogh during his life was the most active. He was producing roughly a painting per day. He was there for a bit more than 2 months and he produced over 75 paintings there. But none of these were sold. I mean, actually one was sold while he was alive. It was not really sold. It's his brother who bought it from him. And you will learn about that as well. So in the morning, you will have the choice between Napoleon's history or Van Gogh. And then in the afternoon, we are going to have a cruise in Paris, but not on our ship. What we will do is that we will go on the so-called Bateau Parisien, the Parisian boats, very research name for this company. And they are very flat boats because the bridge is in Paris, and we can come close to the Eiffel Tower, but we cannot pass the Eiffel Tower. Whereas these boats are designed to go under the Pont Neuf. And so the Pont Neuf means the new bridge. It's from the 15th century. And so it's these boats are designed, and so you will have a cruise to really again discover Paris. And it's very interesting, even for those of the guests who would have been who would have taken part to the pre-land extension. You don't see that on the pre-land. This cruise gives you a very different point of view on Paris and its monuments. And that would be it pretty much in terms of excursions for our first week already. So we've done 1 week.
Wow. I feel a little bit exhausted, but extra excited as well at the same time. I feel like we're going to be going to do so many things. And I can't believe that it's only going to be, a week plus the 2 pre-nights to be able to get all of that in. It's an extraordinary itinerary already. And we've only done the Normandy region so far.
We're
it's
at half
amazing.
of it, yes.
Wow. Yes, I love that. I love it. So we've got food, culture, history, art, and we've got hundreds and hundreds of years of history. It's amazing to be able to go through all of the castles and all of the places that we'll be going to, and just hearing you talk about 15th century, 10th century, 17th century, all of the centuries that we're going through, and being able to see these ruins, these castles, these extraordinary structures that are still intact. I think it's going to be breathtaking. I'm very excited about this. So now we're a little thirsty, I think. We're a little bit thirsty on this trip. We need to go on to Bordeaux.
Yes, we need. So we will leave Paris, and it's, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. It's a very relaxed day again, because we will take the bullet train, and that's really the beauty. We will cover 700 kilometers in 2 hours 10 minutes, which is. It's really fast. What the quality of these trains is absolutely amazing. I just wish we could have these trains replacing the Amtrak in the US. I mean, it would be much easier for me to come to Florida. But we will transfer from the ship to the Gare Montparnasse, and then from there we will have this trip taking us to Bordeaux. It is a relaxed day in that sense that we will be leaving the ship around 9 o'clock. We take the train around 10:30, 10:40, and then 2.5 hours later, you're there. There is some free time for lunch in Bordeaux, and that's the beauty. When we arrive at the Gare Saint-Jean in Bordeaux, we're immediately in the center of town, and there will be some free time for lunch. You will have, of course, the guides and escorts that are with you to explain to you where to go. But the beauty in Bordeaux is that once you find the river, you cannot get lost. I mean, and that's I always say that to my guests, anywhere they go. If you think you're getting lost, just ask, where is the river? And then all of a sudden, you just either look left or right, and you will see your ship, and then you're good. But so we will arrive in Bordeaux, embark the ship. There will be, of course, a second welcome, because there will be guests there in Bordeaux who have not necessarily done the grand itinerary. We can choose, our guests can choose to do the grand itinerary, but some just choose to do the first week, some choose just to do the second. So there will be a welcome on a new ship. You will have a new cruise manager. So you have a cruise manager for the first week, you have a cruise manager for the second week, and they're always in communication with each other. So you will actually be surprised to see how much your second cruise manager knows about you, not even having ever met you before. Because we want to make sure that the guest's experience is really seamless, that the quality of service that you get on board the Amalira is the same as the one that you would get on board the Amadolce. That's very, very important. And so Bordeaux is, in terms of architecture, you will see a lot of similarities with Paris. but not only, because Bordeaux, of course, has always been a harbor. It became a very rich, very strong city already in the 15th century, 15th, 16th, 17th, and the area where the ship is docked in the heart of the town became rich and powerful during the 17th century. And it's absolutely beautiful to just see this town built completely along the river Garonne. Because when you're in Bordeaux, it's a little bit different than when you're in Normandy, because in Normandy, you're only on the river Seine. In Bordeaux, we will be on two different rivers and one estuary. So you will have the river Garonne, which is the one where Bordeaux is located. From there, we will go on the Dordogne River and then continue with the Gironde estuary. So you were talking about being thirsty. The first spot we hit when we are on this Bordeaux cruise is Libourne, and so Libourne is our first port of call, and from there we go to visit Saint-Emilion. So Saint-Emilion, quite a few people have heard of the Saint-Emilion wines, but Saint-Emilion is not only a wine town. Okay, Saint-Emilion, first of all, is a religious place. Saint Emilion, so the monk Emilion, the hermit, is actually the one after whom this city is named. You will visit the place where he lived as a hermit. You will see the church he created, which is nowadays the second largest monolithic church in the world. So monolithic church means that it's carved in a cliff, and it's in one block in a cliff. The largest one in the world being in Sudan, in Africa. It's very interesting when you look at you would always think, well, if it's church related, it has to be in Europe. Nope, the largest one is in Sudan. But you will get to see the second largest. And what I really liked about Saint-Emilion is that then you will have some free time to explore, because you have all these little wine, I would have to say wine bars, but bar is not the right term. It's not even a wine shop either. It's a mix between both, and people love it. You have these little terraces, and you're just there. You've seen this beautiful village, and you're there in the afternoon. It's not too hot because there's a lot of shade. That's what happens in these old villages. You have a lot of tall houses, because having tall houses with narrow streets, you create immediately a natural air conditioning system, because you don't have the sun hitting on all the facades. And you're there, and you can enjoy a little glass of Saint-Emilion wine, and you have a ton of them. And our guests really enjoy doing that. And like for the other tours, we have a gentle version, we have the regular version. We also have a bike tour that goes around Libourne and Saint-Emilion. It is a really great way to start discovering the Bordelais area. And as I said, you will be on the Dordogne River. So after this tour, we come back to Libourne, and the next morning the ship is still there. It doesn't move overnight. That's what I think is also very nice is when you have these rivers that are either calm or where your ship can be docked overnight, because that gives the opportunity to the guests to, if you want to go out for a stroll at night in the evening, go ahead. The city is yours. That's really the beautiful thing. And the next day, we will discover the village, the little town of Libourne, with the market, with different tastings. There is also a bread mill for those who choose to learn to make the French baguette in an old water mill, Moulin de Porchère, which is really beautiful. And you have this workshop, and it's a real workshop. It lasts 2.5 hours, so people really learn everything about. So of course, if you have a gluten allergy or celiac, that's not recommended for you. But for all the others, you really come and make your own baguette. People love it because this mill has been in use since 1923. So it's over 100 years of use. And you learn not only how to make the bread, but you learn the history of this mill. It's a beautiful place.
I'm excited.
That's what we have in the morning.
I feel like that's something that everybody wants to go to France and do, some kind of a cooking class, some kind of a baguette class or a croissant class or whatever it is. I feel like that will really fill one of those checklist marks for you and your grand trip to France. So I like that.
That's true. That's true. And then so like on the Seine, after that we cruise, right? And we have some daytime cruising. That's very important. You will see that the landscape, especially that's also the contrast, right? Between Normandy, where you have these white cliffs pretty much half to 3/4 of the time. And Bordeaux, you're going through, I mean, you will have a few cliffs in the Dordogne, but after that, it's vineyards, 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 left and right everywhere. So we will go to the city of Blaye. And this little town of Blaye has always been very important since Louis XIV, because there is a huge fortification, the Blaye Citadel, which has never been taken. And you will get to visit that the next day in the morning. So either same thing, walking or biking. And the ship, once again, is docked 100 yards away from the Citadel. And it's really beautiful because we're alone there. So it's you and history, really, literally. And we visit the Citadel in the morning. And the Blaye day is a beautiful day because at lunchtime, we will start cruising a little bit upstream. We go to another little village called Bourg. And we really love Bourg. What we try to do everywhere is also to give back, right? Because we want to show our guests these beautiful destinations everywhere, but we like the locals to have something out of it. That's something very important. And Bourg, why is Bourg so interesting? Because it is really the little town, the Côte de Bourg wines are really the wines that French people drink on a daily basis, because there is always this myth that French people drink. I mean, it's not a myth. They drink a lot of wine. They're always in competition with the Italians to know who drinks the most wine in the world. But obviously, you're not going to drink a bottle of Petrus or of Chateau Lafite every day, right? The budget is not that high. And then you have these Côte de Bourg wines where that's the typical everyday wine for French people. And what we do is that we invite winemakers. Every week we have different ones, but they are from this village. And they will do a wine tasting at the House of Wines of Bourg. So we have a partnership with the town for our guests to discover these wines. And then you also have a little bit of, finger foods, a little either different cheeses or different sausages. So really a great time with music, with what we call chanson. So chanson is the songs are really from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Great time. I've seen many times people dancing because there is enough space at this House of Wines to do that. Really a great moment. And then they have this beautiful terrace overlooking the valley. And then what do you see just underneath the House of Wines? Your ship. So after that, you just walk down. Everybody is happy. Everybody has had a great day. Nobody's thirsty anymore. But you still have dinner. So if you're still thirsty, we still have everything, because during dinner, lunch and dinner, of course, wine and beer and all these soft drinks, everything is complimentary. So we will make sure that nobody is thirsty on these cruises.
Excellent. Now, I feel like this is something that Ama does really well. They create these unique and extraordinary experiences just for their guests. Mm-hmm. So am I under the right understanding that Ama's really pulling these local winemakers in, and it's really just an experience for Ama's guests along the way?
That's correct. That's nobody else has that. It's a partnership that we started in 2015 when we brought actually the Amadalce, and we wanted to do something special. We do that in other areas. I mean, if you go on the Danube, and I know you've been many times on the Danube with us. When you're in Wilshofen, we have the Beer Fest, and the Beer Fest and all the people, they're all locals, and we're the only ones doing that. We've even sponsored their new welcoming area to make sure that the music is under the right conditions, because sometimes, a beer tent, so a beer tent is something that can be a little too small, a little too cold, a little too hot. So we try to make our local partners feel good. Everywhere we are, we sponsor. So that's a little more about the next generations. But in Cambodia, we sponsor a school, for example. We do that in Africa as well. In South Africa, in Soweto, we are partnering. So we're trying to give back to the community a little bit.
I love that. And my very first cruise with Ama was doing the Rivers and Castles of Europe itinerary. And we went to Zell, and that was one of the coolest experience. We had the Black Cats of Zell, but they all got us off and they welcomed us, and it was a special event just for us. And that to me was over the top. It really does take that experience just that one step farther over the top. Unique experiences. When we talk about experiential travel, I feel like on a wine cruise or on a river cruise, people aren't thinking about what more you can do except going into these small towns and villages and historic experiences. But there's so much more. And Ama, I feel like, really hits the nail on the head with those experiences. I'm very excited to hear about this one.
Thank you. We try, and I think we succeeded. As you say, it's also promoting traditions. I mean, why you're talking about Celle, you have another one on the Main River. It is very important, and that's why folks are very proud to show their tradition, their folklore, and their own local identity, right? That's what it's all about. When we're doing all these trips, when we talk about exchanging or discovering other cultures, that's exactly what it is. If it's just to go to a site and say, okay, I've seen a cathedral and continue, doesn't bring a lot. So being immersed with these folks, because the beauty in Bourg, for example, I remember because I was the cruise manager on the second ever cruise down there. I was translating for the winemakers. 10 years later, they all present their own wines in English, and the next generation is coming. So it is very interesting. It is very important, and we love that it works very well. And then that's, of course, we're talking about the little local image, but Bordeaux, you and I and everybody knows, is also very famous for the Médoc, and that's where we continue. So the Médoc is really the left bank, the south bank in the Bordeaux area, and that's where you have these Saint-Julien. So the village of Saint-Julien has these, or Saint-Estèphe has these estates like Château Lafite, of course, but the Rothschild family, you have Château Latour, for example, Château Margaux. So we're not doing a tasting at all these estates because it would be a little bit too much. But what we do is that we go to great castles like Léoville Poix-Ferré, which are Grand Cru Classé wine. So what is a Grand Cru Classé? It's a classified great growth from what we call the list of 1855. And so that's the list that was asked by Emperor Napoleon III, because he wanted to know, there was a contest to know where the best wines were. And so we will go to, as I said, Léoville Poix-Ferré or Gruault-Larose, and we take our guests so that they can discover and taste these great wines, because they are really great wines, and you really see the difference. These are wines that can age very, very well. So you don't have just the young ones. You need to get some older ones. It's a very, very unique experience. The Médoc day is beautiful. There is that morning also, for those who want to be a little more active, we go to another very famous chateau. It's called Lynch-Bages. And Lynch-Bages is not a name that everybody knows necessarily, because they are not on the classification, not because they were not good enough, but because the one that they called the old man, and actually so they called him the old man or the baker, who was the patriarch of the Bages family. He just did not want to be part of this list. He was like, no, my estate is my estate. And you will see when you go there, or if you look it up online, the Lynch-Bages wines are very much up there in terms of quality and pricing. But he just didn't want to be in the list. And even when you talk with the older generations there today, they know who the baker was. It's very interesting. They all call him, no, he's the baker. He's not a winemaker. He was the baker. And so there is an active walk there. It's a beautiful estate, absolutely wonderful. So if you feel that you want to do an active walk, I highly recommend this one.
Okay.
It's a great day.
Noted. That will be something on the list for sure. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Very good. Wow. This is such a jam-packed itinerary, such a good cruise already. I mean, we're nearing the end and it is just so much that we're going to be getting out of this. And just really quick, because we didn't talk about this, though many of our explorers are past AMA guests, all of these tours are included.
Mm-hmm.
They're not extra. We're not charging an extra $100, $200 per day, whatever tour they choose.
No,
They
we're
don't
not.
get just one tour a day. They get to choose between all of them and they're included, right?
That's absolutely correct. If you have a tour in the morning, a tour in the afternoon, be my guest. Do both of them if you want. Do one if you want. Do none if you don't want. But that's very important. No, it's a great point. Because the idea is, if you're on vacation, you don't want to think. I mean, you don't. I don't. When I'm on vacation, I don't want to have to think, do I have to pay $200 more here? Or so it makes it so much nicer for the overall experience. And we see that our guests are just relaxed when they're on the ship because you know that you have the choice. If I don't know, you partied a little bit too much the day before and you enjoyed a little bit too much of the wine, and you say, but tomorrow morning I'll just skip the tour and I'll just go tomorrow afternoon. Sleep in, enjoy it. You will have, and then you will have a private ship that is 400 feet long just for yourself. So you have your big private yacht. But it is very interesting to see how appreciative the guests are, and they will not come and tell you it's so great, but you see that it's great, that they can enjoy to go on a tour whenever they want to without being nickel and dime. That's very important, and we've always done that. We've always offered these different options, and I think that's what still now makes us successful. And we keep we keep adding. I mean, when we will be, for example, when we will do the day after, because you mentioned we are coming towards the end of the cruise. Yes, we have 2 more days of excursions. And the next day we will be in Cadillac, where you have the possibility to visit Roquetaillade Castle, or you will also have the possibility to visit the Chateau de Cazeneuve. And Chateau de Cazeneuve is something that is new for 2026. I went there a few times myself, and I was stunned. I mean, Roquetaillade is already beautiful, and this one will be a very difficult one because both chateaus are absolutely fantastic. They're just different parts of history. Roquetaillade is really an early medieval castle. So what you would think when you look at a Walt Disney movie, that's Roquetaillade, like the big defense, the big round towers. Cazeneuve is very interesting because it is a castle that technically exists for 25,000 years. What do I mean with that? Is that it is built on a grotto that has been inhabited already 25,000 years ago. And so it was the castle where King Henry IV, so at the beginning Henry of Navarre, but then who became King Henry IV of France, that's where he lived with the Queen Margot. Right? I don't know if you've seen the movie La Reine Margot, the Queen Margot. There's a very famous movie about her. She was imprisoned, and that's the very place. And the beauty of this castle, of both castles, is that they've been in the same family for hundreds of years. And when I say hundreds of years, Roquetaillade, we're talking 750 years in the same family. And the history of Cazeneuve is a little more complicated, because what happened, and that's what I learned from the nobility there when I visited, is that when there was no heir anymore, it would go to the in-laws, pretty much, so to the wife's family, and that's how the lineage would continue. So it changed only 3 times over 700 years. But you have everything original from King Henry IV in there. His sword, his helmet, his everything. So it's absolutely stunning. And they're on the Ciron River. The Ciron River is very important in that area because that's where you have the Sauternes wines. So not saying that we will do a Sauternes tasting, but the Chateau de Cazeneuve also produces their own Sauternes, and you will have a little glass of Sauternes at the end. So Sauternes is this very yellow, very sweet wine. Absolutely beautiful. The taste is absolutely fantastic. So you will be able to mix really history and a little bit of wine there as well. Before heading back to Bordeaux and spending the entire day in Bordeaux, touring Bordeaux, visiting the Cité du Vin. So the Cité du Vin is the wine museum. If you don't want to visit the Cité du Vin because you've had enough wine during the week, you can visit the Bassin des Lumières. If you remember, I talked about that at the beginning. The Bassin des Lumières, so these basins of light, and they're very interesting because you have these art projections in music, and that's in the former Nazi submarine base in Bordeaux. So instead, because it's indestructible, the concrete is so big, so thick that they said we cannot destroy that. So instead of destroying it, they transformed it into an art area. There is also the possibility to go in town in the afternoon. So of course, we can say it's a packed itinerary. I would rather say that you have a lot of options. And then from there, you cherry pick what you want to do during these 2 weeks.
I would agree with that. There are a lot of options, and it doesn't feel so packed that it's overwhelming. It is packed with options and packed with opportunities for every type of person. Because, you know, I don't know about you in your life, but with me and mine, I am the wine drinker. I'm the one who will try those kind of things. And my husband is like, he doesn't drink any of it. So for him to go on a cruise through the Bordeaux region and being able to do all of this, he's like, is it really just going to be wine all of the time? So it's lovely to be able to give both options for any kind of traveler, whether you travel on your taste buds or you travel on your history and your experience. Or a combination of all of the things, the art, the history, the culture, and your taste buds. It's a really great way to be able to see, I mean, so much of France. We are really getting to see so much, but you are correct. It's great that you can cherry pick, as you said, what you want to do.
Yeah. And then so with that, we're pretty much done on the ships, right? But there is still a little beautiful part at the end, because we will see chateaus, of course, but what we do as a post-cruise extension is a tour in the Loire Valley. So what we do there, we leave from Bordeaux, and we go to Cognac. So Cognac, I don't need to explain, everybody knows what the Cognac is, but we go to the city of Cognac, and we go to the Chateau de Cognac. And the Chateau de Cognac is owned nowadays by a very famous cognac company named Otard. But the very interesting part of this is that the Chateau de Cognac is where Francis I was born. And who was Francis I? He is the one who really introduced the French Renaissance. And that's what you will discover in the Loire Valley. You will discover, we will be there for 2 nights in Amboise. And Amboise, you have the Royal Chateau d'Amboise. We will visit Chenonceau as well. And Chenonceau is named the Chateau des Dames, so the ladies' castle, because it was really where the ladies' nobility would come, and over history has been owned by ladies. It's a beautiful piece of architecture built on the Cher River. So you probably have seen this castle with these arches on the river, above the river. And then we visit Amboise. And the Chateau d'Amboise has this very interesting part of it. It's a little chapel just outside. Not many people pay attention to it, but we go there. I really enjoy to go there, and we always made sure that our guides go there, because in this little chapel, that's where Leonardo da Vinci is buried. And many people don't even know that. They're like, oh yeah, Leonardo da Vinci, we heard of him. Yeah, well, he's right there. Because the last years of his life, the 3 last years of his life, Francis I invited Leonardo to live in Amboise, approximately 10 minutes away from the hotel where we will be, which is also a chateau with a 1 Michelin star restaurant where you will have dinner, by the way, included,
Very
by the way.
nice.
Yep. And then you have Le Clos Lucé, and Le Clos Lucé was Leonardo da Vinci's last residence, which is nowadays the Leonardo da Vinci Museum, where you will see also a lot of the inventions that he had there. It is a very unique, it's much more architecture oriented, this part of the tour, but also history. The history, the architecture, the art history in the Loire Valley is absolutely fantastic, because even when you go towards Blois, on the way back towards Paris, because our last night is at the airport hotel in Paris, but on the way back we will visit one last castle to make sure that you visited enough castle and that you're specialists. And Blois is a magnificent piece of architecture just because of its double, what they call a double helicoid staircase, and it's a double helix that you would call, we would call that in English. And seeing that this has been built 500 years ago, all these castles, and that they stand majestically, I would say, is just being there. I can talk about it for hours. The truth is, people need to be in front of it and inside these castles. Then, and you can talk about it after that with your own experience. I would describe some places. I mean, for me, for example, in the Blois Castle, the main room that I like is the last one, just because of the color of the tapestry on the roof. It's a navy blue, a royal blue, as they call it. From that time, from these times, and it's just, I could stay there and just look at the ceiling for hours. It's just beautiful. So that's what we offer there.
Wow.
In the Loire Valley.
I wasn't prepared for that. I've read through this itinerary multiple times and gone through it, talked about it, and I don't know if I just missed something or if I trailed off or what happened, but you just opened my eyes to one of the most, that I think is going to be extraordinary experiences all the way at the end of the itinerary. So it's like new things are happening every single day and all of these great experiences. And it's not like you're losing steam at the end and just, okay, another castle. Oh, we're just going to schlep it off. We'll know they're retired. You were going to extraordinary place after extraordinary place, magnificent place after magnificent place, and seeing all of these incredible things that I cannot believe. When you said that Leonardo da Vinci was buried there, I'm like, how did I miss that? That's going to be also incredible and extraordinary and amazing as well. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming on this tour. That's the important part.
Very excited. I know that the explorers that we have booked on it so far are very excited. They're actually the ones who picked this. There was a couple of them who kind of spearheaded this itinerary and said, this is what we want to do. Will you host a group trip? So I said, sure, let's go ahead. Let's talk about this as a group trip. And as I said, there's people who want to join because of the history. There's people who want to join because of the wine. There's people who want to join because of the beaches. And each one has a different reason for joining, but this is really all encompassing. And I think the same, we could listen to you for hours and hours talking about this itinerary. So thank you so much, Sebastien. You are wonderful to talk to. You are wonderful to get on a Zoom call with. And you painted the most beautiful picture, and we cannot wait to go. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, I'm happy to talk about the future trips that will be hosted with Roseborough Travel anytime you want.
We look forward to it. All right, explorers, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I'm Amanda Vallone from Roseborough Travel. We thank Sebastien from AmaWaterways, and we look forward to having you join us on the Grand Seine Bordeaux group trip. And if the group dates don't work for you, don't worry. We can help you get you on your itinerary of the dates that work perfect for you as well. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.